Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Brian Taylor, and today I'm going to be giving you a tour of my mulberries in their first year. I'm here in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. It's a perfect smoky morning. As you guys can see behind me, we get weather like this quite often. The humidity is just incredible. It's really good for some of these trees. It's helped spur some amazing growth this first year. We're excited to show you, and let's get on this tour. All right, so the first tree on my row is my early bird mulberry. Now, this one was pretty appealing to me because it advertised large leaves, which they're pretty big. They're not the biggest I've ever seen. It said that it had fast, vigorous growth, which most mulberries I've seen do. Some, like some that we're gonna see, are actually pretty slow growers. But it said that it was the first to produce fruit that year. So to try to spread my fruit harvest around, I'm going to be trying to get something that comes a little bit earlier. So I'm excited about this. It was just a little tiny stick. I got it from One Green World, and it was probably about this tall in May when I got it. So this thing has grown like a weed. Awesome tree. All right, so this smaller guy is actually really cool. It's called a contorted mulberry. And the branches are just going in all kinds of different crazy directions. It is supposed to have a very sweet tasting, not really any berry flavor, just a very sugary flavor. I haven't tried it yet. We'll definitely be doing videos on those when I get the mulberries. But it just seemed like a cool tree. I got it when I got my early bird mulberry from One Green World. It is a little bit smaller, but the leaves are huge. It's a very pretty tree, and it has grown quite a bit this season as well. So I'm excited to see what it'll give me. All right, this is my largest mulberry. This is the one that you saw in the intro. This mulberry was actually the first tree that I planted on this property. I came across a nursery and it said female mulberry. I decided I needed to get it. All it said was that it was a red mulberry. Still has the price tag, $29.98. It didn't give me any other details, so I don't really have a lot of information on this tree other than it says it's a red mulberry, which there are three main types of mulberries. There's the white mulberry, the red mulberry, and the black mulberry. And the red mulberry has been one that I haven't had. I have noticed that it has been an ever-bearing type mulberry tree. There are little tiny berries on it that are honestly not very good. So most likely what this tree is going to do for me is it's going to be a good rootstock for me to graft better tasting varieties onto. I'll still leave a branch or so of this variety, but when I'm only able to find varieties through grafting or cuttings, this is the tree I'm going to be putting them on. All right, this is my Black Beauty mulberry. For those of you who don't know a lot about Black Beauty mulberries, they have a tendency to be a dwarfing type mulberry. So if you're looking for a smaller size mulberry, get a Black Beauty that hasn't been grafted onto another mulberry stock. That'll help you keep a more manageable size mulberry tree. This is one of the first mulberry trees I planted, and its growth has been very slow. I got this back in January, and I put it in the ground in February. We did have a really hard snowstorm, so that might have stunted its growth a little bit in March. But overall, this tree has shown that it's very resilient and it's growing. And I'm excited to taste some of the fruit from this tree here in the South. I did get to enjoy a little bit of it in Arizona before we moved. That's why I decided it'd be a good tree to plant here. It's a good taster. All right, so the last of the planted mulberry trees that I have is this Persian mulberry. It's a black Persian. I also got this from Willis Orchards. This particular tree has had a lot of growth this year. They've got a small black fruit when fully ripe. I'm looking forward to it. It's a very popular variety as far as flavor, so I'm excited to see what I can get for it. I'm not seeing like insane growth like I have with some of these other trees, so it could be a slow grower as well. It also went through that snowstorm that could have stunted its growth as well. So we're looking forward to this. This is just the first year. We'll see what we can do. All right, with the good comes the bad. I have to report out on my Pakistani mulberry. This is one of my favorite mulberries back in Arizona. It did not survive that winter storm in March, and it completely died back. It was a complete bummer. So I will be trying this again. I think maybe once it's more established, it will be able to survive here, but it died and I never even saw green leaves coming out of it, so it's a bummer. I'll show you guys, those are the last of my planted mulberries. I'm gonna show you a couple of the awesome mulberries that I have growing here, which I'm gonna try to cultivate and possibly sell someday. There might be a new variety called the Taylor coming out here, you'll see. All right. All right, we have several hundred trees like this that you can kind of see the mulberries poking through. They have these big, giant leaves just growing through. Mulberries are like weeds here. They grow abundantly everywhere and they produce varying quality of fruit. So the ones that I find on my property that have good fruit, I plan to propagate. All right, so here's a mulberry tree. The previous owners cut down some trees over here and there's a big stump down at the bottom, and this is coming up from the stump, so it's got a very established root system if it ends up taking off. This mulberry tree, I have no idea if it's a male or female or if there's fruit that's gonna come out of it, but it could also be used as a grafting option for better varieties if I choose to do so. One of the big mulberry trees in the area behind here, which I could film, but it's not gonna turn out really good because it's really mixed and intertwined with some other trees. It had some very large, red, almost purplish fruit, and they taste like grapes almost, which is a very unique flavor for a mulberry, for me at least. So that'll be one that I probably end up taking some cuttings off and trying to propagate so that I could give it to people. So if you're one of my friends in Arizona, stay tuned for one of those trees. But that's pretty much what I've got for my mulberry tour so far. There are hundreds of them on my property. I'm sure I'm gonna find some varieties that taste really good. If you want to stick with our channel, please subscribe and you can see these updates and you can see how these trees develop over the next few years. I'm going to probably do, you know, fall, winter, summer updates. I'll do lots of updates on these things because they're one of my favorite trees. Obviously, it was the first one I planted. So just stick around and watch me add to my collection, and hopefully we'll be able to grow and share more with you. All right, thanks. Bye.